Okay, hang in there, Bhavin. Let me just get in a quick word from Sundaraman Viswanathan of Zinnov. Mr. Vishwanathan, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. First, your initial reactions on the changes that have been announced by Infosys. NR Narayana Murthy is back in the driver's seat, the board appointing him the executive chairman.
Initial reaction is it looks good and it is very much needed. Currently, when I look at the whole situation that Infosys is in, there were three major challenges. Essentially, one is regarding the keeping up with the current growth rate. Second one is with their execution of 3.0, and third one is succession planning. And I think they need a very, very strong mediator and a father figure, and there could not be anybody better than Narayana Murthy to do this.
What do you think went wrong, Mr. Sundaraman, as far as the Infosys 3.0 strategy was concerned? We just heard, from Bhavin talking about how neither the consulting or the platform solutions business has actually delivered for them. But what, to your mind, was the biggest problem as far as the Infosys 3.0 strategy is concerned, and what kind of strategic directional shift do you anticipate now?
Let me just step back a bit. I don't still think that there is nothing that went wrong per se with Infosys 3.0. Infosys 3.0 is one of the very painful journeys that anybody can embark upon. And in one way, I look at Infosys being brave enough to take on the journey, because it's not easy to make money from discretionary spend. Focusing on consulting, focusing on products and platforms, maybe that is the new future. And Infosys is leading the way. So, it is something only time can tell in the next 3 to 5 years as it pans out. But I would wait to still give some more time for the Infosys 3.0 to kick in. In terms of the issues that came up because of that, the sales force was not used to selling these things. And you need to really revamp your organization from ground up. And different people have different interests, and they could be pulling the company in one direction or the other. So that was the issue there.
Do you believe, and I was just discussing this with Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, that this was a situation where there was just too many cooks which eventually spoiled the broth, as you said, pulls and pressures in different directions perhaps, because there was just too many people at the top perhaps deciding the course of the company?
In a way, yes. You have got, now if you look at even the succession planning, you have got 3 clear leaders within Infosys, not just one or 2, but you have got 3 clear leaders within Infosys. So there are very powerful leaders. It's good for the company. It's already, Infosys is always known to be a place where there are a lot of argumentative people, and you have got this father figure, Narayana Murthy, there. So it's a good place to be, but a difficult one when you are set on an execution path, which is Infosys 3.0. So you need somebody to guide them. We just heard Mr. Sundaraman say, Mr. Ravanan, takes me back to a conversation that I remember having with Nandan Nilekani and NR Narayana Murthy way back in 2004, when they said to me that Infosys was perhaps the country's best debating society or debating club, where everybody could bring to the table their different ideas, their different opinions, and then basically slug it out. But what are the lessons really to take away from the way and the manner in which the succession planning actually took place at Infosys post NR Narayana Murthy?
I wouldn't want to comment on that, because like I think Mr. Shaw also said a few minutes back, it's something that's complex. I'm not sure if anybody can have one story that everybody else can. It's something that journeys that people go through. And I think the company did the best that they could given the circumstances that they had.
Okay, but what do you see as the big challenge, Mr. Ravanan, in terms of A, this management leadership change, B, trying to bring the employee attrition rates down, trying to win over clients, trying to perhaps strategically change the direction of the company as well? As Bhavin and Mr. Sundaraman were pointing out, Infosys 3.0 has already been an extremely painful journey. What to your mind will be the biggest challenge now of, in a sense, revamping or overhauling this strategy?
I think the biggest focus area for the next quarters would be to bring back revenue growth, because some of the other things like employee attrition and some of the other factors that you mentioned automatically get solved if revenue growth comes back into a. So I think that's what we'll be working on right now.
Okay, let's also go across to Sachit Virgogia of Greyhound Research. Sachit, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Your first thoughts on the decision taken by the Infosys board, NR Narayana Murthy coming in as executive chairman. Interestingly, and this is for the first time that we've actually seen a family member of the founders making his way into the company. Rohan Murthy will be joining as the executive assistant, his term co-terminus with NR Narayana Murthy.
Well, thanks for having me over, Shireen. Appreciate it. Clearly, I think this is a crisis call. Shibu has failed to deliver the mandate. We've seen and heard Shibu over time, but clearly he's understood what Infosys 3.0 is. But unfortunately, in my humble opinion, they've been a little too late to the market, and have not really delivered any thought leadership that the market really needed from Infosys. I think clearly Infosys has had a problem in stepping out of their comfort zone. They've been working in the traditional pricing models and really haven't been able to deliver the newer outcome-based pricing models and newer innovations that the market needed. Also, another critical problem that I feel is that, while you can have a great strategy in Infosys 3.0, but ultimately the three board member team can only do so much to deliver. It's a second tier management which it really needs to execute. It unfortunately Infosys has not really developed a team of second tier management which is entrepreneurial and risk taking, and that's where we've seen the execution fail dramatically. So clearly I think we're a little too late to the party, and they've been quoting overcoming margin issues in the market. They really haven't invested in the right software sets which are critically needed to overcome these issues. Even if you look at some of the recent sales that they've done in the market, they've been very point solutions. They've not been able to use their existing client base and cross-sell to them aggressively. And I think I've had a traditional problem with Infosys is that they've been very tactical in their sales approach and not really strategic enough. And if you see them in the past as well, they've been very conservative. They've spoken about doing a lot of acquisitions and filling the gaps, and still they've not really made much news in the market, and they really haven't filled the gaps in the market.
Yeah, I want to come to that point about them perhaps being erring on the side of being too conservative, Sachit, because, with KV Kamath coming in, there was a lot of belief in the market that perhaps this would be a way for Infosys to actually become more acquisitive, be a lot more aggressive in the marketplace. There's been a lot of talk recently about the possibility of Infosys being in the race for instance Polaris' services business. Do you really see any of that changing now? Because this is Mr. Murthy, and Infosys was the conservative, deliver on only what you can, promise on only what you can deliver kind of company under him.
Well, unfortunately, Shireen, you don't have much of a choice, do you? I mean, you have to really go out and fill the gaps. Today, unfortunately, you cannot be a point solution provider and just be best in your own game. You really have to either partner, buy, or build. And clearly building is a long-term market, but you really can't be there, so you have to really go and acquire. They really, if Mr. Murthy does come back, and I would really hope he would really go out and sort of buy some
There's no if he does, Sachit, he is back.
Right, sure. Right, he is, and we're really hoping that he will be able to turn around the ship and get some newer acquisitions on the board. They clearly have a lot of gaps in terms of market offerings, and they've not been able to deliver that at all in the recent past. And also another quick point here, Shreen, I think the decision makers have also evolved, and a lot of conversations I have with Infosys buyers in the market, they only have the CIO level sell, and today the decision makers is the broader CXO community, which is the CMO and the CEO level of sell. And that's a very critical market to be in, and they've not been really able to make their mark in the broader CXO community.
Okay, let me get wrap-up comments from all three of you. Bhavin, let me start by asking you, Monday morning, how do you see the stock reacting? Of course, post-April, it's been it's been a disaster as far as market cap erosion is concerned for Infosys. But Monday morning, how do you see the stock reacting?
Well, I think there will be some positive reaction. Maybe the stock goes up, a small percentage, points, maybe to 3-4 percentage points. I mean, there is possibility that it could react even, it could be even a bigger reaction, but I would not call it warranted, because in our view, the challenges facing Infosys are fairly significant, and one has to give Mr. Murthy and the company some time to address those challenges rather than kind of get ahead in terms of expectations.
Absolutely. Mr. Ravanan, before I let you go, what is the one key thing that you would like to hear from Mr. Murthy in his commentary later today?
I think it will be probably around, what are the changes that he is planning to implement to solve some of the challenges that the company itself acknowledges.
Okay, Sachit, let me end by asking you, what would you like to hear from the company in terms of perhaps the strategic changes they would like to make? Because as you've pointed out, and as several other of our guests have also pointed out, they've fallen short on several parameters and expectations haven't been met, the promises haven't been delivered.
Right, I would love to hear some strategic acquisitions being happening. I would love to hear how they are ready to execute in the market, how they're developing the second-tier management, and clearly, the focus will be on execution and having a more strategic level of sell and how they really plan to go about doing that.
All right, Sachit, Mr. Ravanan, Bhavin, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. That's a quick analysis of the decision that has been taken by the Infosys board appointing NR Narayana Murthy. He's back in the driver's seat, will take over as executive chairman. KV Kamath will step down from the 1st of June. Another interesting development, of course, will be that Rohan Murthy will make his foray into the company. He will join as executive assistant to NR Narayana Murthy, and his term will be co-terminus with Mr. Murthy being appointed for 5 years. Of course, all of this has to be approved by shareholders at the time of the EGM. S. Gopalakrishnan will now be redesignated Executive Vice Chairman effective June 1st, and his primary focus will be on key client relationships and broader issues. S.D. Shibulal will continue as the Managing Director and CEO of the company. And of course, in terms of compensation, Mr. Murthy, Rohan Murthy, Chris Gopalakrishnan and S.D. Shibulal will draw a compensation of 1 rupee a year. So, this is their way of saying that we believe that it's a challenging, tough situation for the company. We want to help turn things around. And Mr. Murthy saying that this is an unexpected, unusual calling, but because Infosys is his middle child, he has decided to come back. Again, it begs the question, did institutional shareholders raise the red flag? Because if you look into what KV Kamath has said, KV Kamath saying that shareholders large and small have asked for strengthening of the executive leadership. What should one make of that? Is this a little too late? How long will it really take for Mr. Murthy to try and turn things around at Infosys? As all our guests have been pointing out, there is no magic wand here. It is going to be a slow, gradual process, a slow, gradual means of trying to get this ship to turn itself around. There are several headwinds, and at this point in time, if I were to prioritize the challenges that this company faces, one, of course, is client addition, one is employee attrition, and two is really getting back into the marketplace, and that seems to be the sum and substance of the challenges that Infosys is faced with as it tries to put together perhaps now Infosys 4.0. We don't know if Infosys 3.0 will continue with these changes having been made. So it is time for us to wrap up, but do remember NR Narayana Murthy will be speaking at 1, and we will be speaking with him exclusively a short while after that. So keep it here on CNBC TV 18 for the in-depth coverage of the changes being announced by Infosys today.